Welcome, all fellow wannabes. Welcome to the show. You are listening to the Wannabe Critic podcast. I am one of your hosts, Gabriel Fast, and joining me, as usual, are my two fellow hosts, Caleb Henley and Mikey Collins. Gentlemen, how are we feeling today?
So good. Just so good.
We're not even going to talk about what happened before we started recording. Just don't even go there.
I think we should talk.
Don't even go there.
I think we really need to dive in and add this to our news segment.
Don't even go there. I told you not to go there. All right, gentlemen, we are here doing our podcast. It's been such a, it feels like it's been forever. It's really only been 2 weeks since we got together. Mikey and I took a little break off of last week. As you all know, we are trying to do a weekly show with news, regardless of it being, whoever's on the show is going to do news, as well as, every other week, Caleb will be joining us and we will be continuing to review movies, because that's what we do. We give our wannabes honest opinion on whatever subject that we want, pretty much. So today, we're going to run through some news subjects. We're going to go through some housekeeping first, run through some news subjects, and then we will be getting into our review of Spider-Man 2, as the title suggests. But guys, before we get into housekeeping, how are we feeling? What's been up? What's new? What's grand? What's great? What's wonderful?
Nothing.
You survived a hurricane last night, Caleb.
Yeah, so I survived a hurricane. We actually made out a lot better than most people out here. So we're doing pretty good. We got power, we got internet. That's how we're able to do this. Didn't think we would for a minute there, but we do.
Yeah.
Most people that live around in this area don't, so we're very, very fortunate, but hopefully everyone else will get the lights turned back on soon.
Yeah.
Craziness.
That's
basically it.
How far away? Don't give me your exact location, but like, how far away from the coast are you guys?
Depends. It depends, but roughly an hour is what I would say. Roughly an hour. But yeah, it's kind of weird because I think that we got hit almost worse than like the city did. Just the way the storm moved, it just went inland and just kind of just really started doing damage towards us. I'm sure like down in the Carolinas and Jersey, I know Jersey got hit really, really bad. Like most of New Jersey didn't have power. So, but yeah, we still in our little area, we got hit pretty hard.
Well, we're glad you're okay. We're glad you made it out safely, relatively, and we're glad that you have internet so that we can do the podcast. Mikey, has there been anything your way that's been great, going good?
Nope.
Okay, good. You knew I was going to cut you off anyways. As you guys know, you know what I do. I don't do anything. I play video games. I take care of this farm here, and then I talk into a microphone and pretend to be cool. That's about it. That is what my life is pretty much. So there you go. Running into some housekeeping, ladies and gentlemen. There's a new Guy and His Wife out. For those of you who listen to that, that's our once a month show. You can go find that on any podcast platform or most podcast platforms. Me and my wife Emma, we're going through the MCU. It's been a lot of fun. And we just got done reviewing the Avengers, so definitely go check that out.
You guys have some wild takes.
I hate you, Caleb. Also, I freaking hate you, Caleb. This is not the time or place.
It's so the time.
Oh my God,
and the place.
Yeah. This is not the right time to have this discussion. You just cannot deal with the fact that the Avengers is the best of the MCU. It is. I'm sorry. It is. In my opinion.
No, holy crap! It's not even the best movie in Phase 1.
What's the best movie in Phase 1?
Iron Man.
Ooh, yeah,
I can't agree with you. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, in my wannabe's honest opinion, the Avengers, it takes everything. And here's the thing. We've been going through them like chronologically, and it just has felt like a journey. I don't know. It hits different this time. I don't know what it is, but I didn't like it that much.
Better than Iron Man?
Everything?
One thing. You have to pick one thing right now that makes it better than Iron Man.
Okay. The action is objectively better.
What?
Across the board. The Chitauri coming in with the giant, the invasion, and all that jazz.
Gabe, here, you can have this one. And I just want to go on record. I like the Avengers. It's probably it's easily like maybe 5 or 6 like favorite MCU movie for me. But Loki is by far the best part of that movie, and it's not even close. Like That's literally it. Like that's the answer to Mikey's question. But come on, like it's not the best movie in the whole series.
I think it's the best. I think it is the best alone overall. It needs the least explanation. If you were to pick one movie out of all four of the Avengers movies, I would pick that one if I could only have one, because there's too much there for Endgame. Like, I'm sorry, but like I just think overall I don't know. That's just my opinion, man. I think it's the best. I think it's the best one.
Oh, Ultron.
Ultron. And then Infinity War and Endgame. Are you even a fan?
That's the thing. I might
I think
like
Infinity War, dude.
Yeah, I think I like Infinity War better.
I think
I just can't do it.
Close.
That needs
really
less
close.
explanation than the first Avengers for sure. You think
Yeah,
everybody knows what the Tesseract is?
I don't know about that. I don't know, but
That's a
Infinity
whole
War
other.
is
It's
so
a whole other podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. Obviously, that I'm not. I'm not saying anyone's wrong. I'm just saying my personal. I think at this point, I think that it is the best. Taking all things into consideration, putting all like personal biases aside, I think it is the best overall movie in the MCU.
Okay, I'm sorry for derailing this whole thing. You guys really should go listen to their podcast. It's really good. It had me like thoroughly kind of like in tune to it. And I mean, obviously, I didn't agree with everything they said, but it's a really good listen, you guys.
Well, there you go. That an endorsement from Caleb the Ginger himself. I appreciate that. Thank you, Caleb. But if we need to have this conversation later, it's okay. We can. We'll get the microphones out and we'll make it happen. Okay, continuing with housekeeping. That's not even we still have more housekeeping to do. So our Fast and Furious review, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we are going through a big transition on the podcast. We are doing a lot of changes. We've added a lot of things. It's time to get with the program on Fast and the Furious, and we are going to be posting one Fast and Furious review a week. There's only a few reviews left, so starting this Monday, you'll be getting pretty much the rest of that series. Within the course of August, we'll have all of the reviews pretty much out by then. This just makes the most sense. We don't want to keep spreading it out once a month. It just makes the most sense to phase it out as we're kind of bringing new stuff in. And I'm ready to roll on with it because we've proved that we can keep a consistent podcast for the time being. So let's just work with that plan and see what happens. So look out for those. Monday, I believe Fast 7 is coming hot at you. So check that out. Also, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget we have a Storytime, a Star Wars podcast. This is something I've been working on in the background for about 6-7 months now, and it's just been a lot of fun to kind of mess with some Star Wars lore and kind of tell a fun story. So definitely give those a listen. Also, we have 2 new projects we'd like to announce, one being the Midnight Run. Me and Rex Tucker are handling that. Basically, it's an homage to the cartoons that got us into anime, and some anime. We'll be reviewing anime itself. And we're starting with Samurai Jack. So look for that. The 12th of every month, kind of going like with the Midnight Run. But I don't think it would make sense to post it at actually midnight. You know what I mean? So we're going the 12th at noon. So look for that on the 12th. Just keep 12 in mind. You're like, okay, there's got to be something coming out on the 12th. We'll be reviewing Samurai Jack Season 1, starting there. And then also we have another side project we've been working on, reviewing The Office, me and Hayden Walker. We will be posting our reviews of that the first and last Wednesdays of every month. So definitely check that out. That's been a lot of fun to work on, and we're having a good time with that too. So, and apparently you are too, because the numbers that show, I guess a lot of you listen to it. So I hope we didn't sound too much like idiots. But we are wannabes after all. So there's only so much you can expect from a couple of wannabes. That's going to wrap it up for housekeeping. Make sure you go to wannabecritic.com to keep updated on all these projects we got going on. We would definitely appreciate all the support that we can get. And let's move on with the show, gentlemen. Did I miss anything? Anything at all? Oh, yeah. You can go to popcultusa.com, get yourself some geeked out, officially licensed swag, this Natural Light hat. They sent it to me, and it's been a great time. They've been a lot of fun. They've been kind of working with me on some stuff. Got some new things coming out I can't really talk about, you know what I mean? But definitely stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of cool things coming out on the website. But other than that, and you can use my code, _wannabecritic, to get 20% off your entire order, should you so decide to buy something from the website. Now we've taken care of everything. All right. So now that we've kind of caught up, gentlemen, now that we've kind of, what, Mikey? What are you laughing at now? What's so funny now?
We just had like 3 different endings to housekeeping.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm still getting used to doing housekeeping. There's so much going on. What do you say? Oh, and there's another thing I missed too. It's hard. My computer's all the way over here. I'm limited. I have limited space. Game Club. We have a new game we're starting the 10th with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Don't look out for those episodes. They post bi-weekly. Now we're done. What do you say we move into some news, gentlemen? I am so sorry. All right. So the first news story we have today kind of comes off of the release of a brand new game called Fall Guys. Now, people are kind of I was seeing some stuff on Twitter, some rumblings on Twitter. People are kind of comparing the move to get this into people's hands similar to what the Rocket League did a long time ago by putting Rocket League on PlayStation Plus. People are gravitating toward this game in such a way I've never really seen before. And I definitely think that Devolver is going to be gaining much more attention than they already have. Devolver's the publisher, but this is going to be great for Devolver Digital because everybody is playing this game right now, like within the community. We wanted to give our just kind of hands-on impressions of what we thought. The whole premise of it is kind of bizarre. It's just a foot race. It's just a straight up foot race trying to overcome obstacles. It's like Ninja Warrior, but like much more derpy. It's pretty much what it is. It's you against like 50 other people, and you're just trying to make it to the end and be victorious. So did you guys actually get any chance to like get any hands-on with the game? I played, I think I'm like level 5 or 6 now. So man, it takes a while to level up. What have you guys thought so far?
Yeah, I played today for about an hour or so. I think I got to like level 4 or 5. I like it. It's a fun game. It's not necessarily like my type of game. I do think it's cool that they were able to do a battle royale game basically that's not like
killing people.
It's not violent. And it's a really cool format. It almost reminds me of almost like a Mario Party type thing where it's a bunch of different like mini games.
Totally.
And you're getting knocked out, with each round. I never made it to the final round of anything because I'm just not that good. And I have to say, this is probably one of the most frustrating games I've ever played, just because there were so many times where I'd be like so close and I'd get knocked off by some random person or some stupid thing would happen, or I'd fall down to my death like right at the last second. But I think it's a really cool concept. I definitely think that's going to have quite a big community that enjoy it, and the controls are like pretty simple for what you need to do. So I think it's going to be a big success. Not necessarily my thing for me, but I had fun with it for the little bit of time I played.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Mikey, you had some trouble kind of getting into a match. Is that right? Did you even get to play?
Yeah, I got to play a couple matches. It was only today that it really had any problems, but I'm sure that's because everybody saw the hype on Twitter or whatever and jumped on. But yeah, it's fun. It's pretty much every 6-year-old's rendition of a foot race. Like what goes on in their mind is literally what's put on screen.
That is very good.
And I think that's why everybody's connecting with it so well, because everybody's like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Right. Now that being said, I've played it for a couple of hours. I was, of course, as soon as I booted up, I go through the trophy list. There is a trophy, mind you. You have to get 5 wins in a row.
Oh God! Oh,
5 wins. There's
no way that's possible.
There's
no way.
There is 0.1% people have gotten the platinum trophy already.
I'm sure there's somebody that's going to dedicate their life to getting that.
Well, and I'm just thinking there are so many situations that are out of my hand that just come down to sheer luck. Like, did you guys play? Have you played the jinxing game? Where it's literally you versus another team, and also soccer. Like, I was playing the soccer one, and there was literally a guy on our team that was, anytime the ball would drop, he would just hit it. He was on our team. He would hit it into our goal, just trolling us. And I was like, holy freaking crap. I am never going to get little stuff like that. And obviously, they just started out. I don't want to knock them too much. They're already getting review bombed by people who haven't played the game. And obviously, like, they're an indie. On one hand, it's like, oh, they're an indie company, like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but everyone and their mom is playing it right now. And this game is not going anywhere. Like, I promise you that.
Yeah. They
Everybody
already got offers from Cyberpunk and Witcher to do
yeah,
crossover.
people
Literally saw that,
Second
yeah.
day.
it is a
crazy.
movement. Like, it is a huge movement, and everything fits in. It's all a perfect puzzle, honestly. The PR is good, the game is fun, people are supporting it, big names are supporting it. Like, it's like I think it's number 1 on Twitch right now. Like, it's a huge game already. It's not going anywhere, but at the same time, like, I hope that fixes are implemented to where if somebody is griefing you somehow, like, they can be kicked in some way. I don't know if that's possible, but
That's just part of the game, homie.
dude, it just
Why do you think they implemented the grabbing mechanic? What do
Yeah.
you think they were going to grab?
Dude, I cannot stand that stupid grabbing
it's
mechanic.
kind of
Oh.
hilarious. I literally, as right off the finish line, like, I literally grabbed someone. I'm like, get out of here. I don't know. I really think it's a lot of fun.
I was watching Mr. Fruit, and he was just grabbing people and throwing them off the edge just to win. Like,
Yeah.
it's
It's such an interesting game. Like, I really am liking it so far. I can definitely see me partying up with a couple of people to, like, play it, have some fun doing it. And it's just like a fun goof around. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be hard to take it seriously.
I feel like that's the best way to experience the game is with friends.
Yeah, I think I would probably enjoy this a lot more if I was playing with a group of people. Playing by yourself, it kind of gets frustrating after a little bit, but playing with a group of friends would be fun.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say on Fall Guys before I move on to the next thing of news?
They have a battle pass, dude.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
The customization's pretty deep, and it's hard to level
it
up.
is.
Like,
It is.
that's surprisingly. That's how you know. Like, I don't know. To me, seeing indie developers take things so seriously, you really see that the development style of things. There's not much more bridging the gap between both of those parties than just money. Like, literally, it's just money. That's what holds indie developers back in so many ways, is money.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see, kind of an indie developer come out with such a game that's such a huge hit already, and it's really cool.
It's not free on Xbox yet, is it?
No. Mm-mm.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
PlayStation,
totally. Which kind of moves us into our next story, of exclusivity, and just how ridiculous console wars are as a whole. We critique the things we love. There's things we love on both sides from both of these, brands. But I'm never going to say, oh, you're an idiot for thinking your way, unless I'm attacked and saying, like, oh, well, I'm an idiot and thinking that, that I like Sony better, Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of, I think there's different versions of what constitutes as the console war. But I think just the overall thing of toxicity among the community of saying, well, mine's better than yours because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, they're trying to do different things. There's some new stuff. I don't have it. Go ahead, Caleb. Sorry, I didn't see you.
No, I was just gonna say something. The whole console war thing cracks me up because you have, it's obviously Xbox versus PlayStation, but then you have Nintendo. It's kind of just sitting like over at the other table, and they're just kind of minding their own business
Right.
and just super happy, and everyone loves them.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it's funny that you can have these three major, companies, and two are the fan bases are constantly at war with each other, and the third one is like everyone loves.
Yeah,
And
It's
I don't
funny.
understand why we can't just like everybody enjoy what all three of them. 'Cause
Right.
All three have something special to offer.
yeah,
And if you have to make a decision over, if you can only get one or two of them, that's fine. Just,
yeah.
make the decision that you want to make, but you can't fault somebody because they want to do something different.
Right. Well, and
I don't know,
my thing is too, just looking through history, Nintendo's always done their own thing, and that's bitten them in the butt a couple of times. But it's also like the Switch has surpassed every single console. I just saw a tweet today. The Switch has surpassed every single Nintendo console, more than a Super Nintendo. More, I think the only thing that has sold more at this point is the Wii and the Nintendo Entertainment System. As far as like home consoles go, that's not including like DS and stuff. Who has changed the most since its inception, if we want to be real? Because Sony truly has kind of always done their own thing, to be honest. So, in my opinion, I see the person who's changed the most or has tried to be the most groundbreaking as far as like big things is Xbox.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they've tried a lot of different stuff, like whether it's, I mean, I guess Sony has too. Like,
Yeah.
they both did their like responses to the Wii, whether it was like a Kinect or whatever the
Right.
thing was that Sony did. But yeah, I guess Xbox has really kind of changed, and I don't know.
And I could be way off.
Yeah.
It just feels to me like Sony's knows they're good at one. Of course, they've had some screwy marketing decisions and things like that throughout the past 10, 15 years, whatever. But so has Xbox. And Sony has always kind of stuck to that thing of, we make really good first-party titles. The end. We're not trying to get you to have that is what our forte is, and that's what they do. Whereas, I don't know, I feel like Xbox has finally gotten around to the point to where they just now have figured out what they want to do. And I'm not saying that there hasn't been good games on Xbox prior to whatever, because I love Xbox. Like, I love the games that you get on Xbox. But it just feels like now Xbox feels like they can kind of do their own thing, is what it feels like. Because they've kind of been, I mean, do you guys feel like they've kind of been irrelevant this whole past generation in a lot of ways?
I don't think so. I've been on Xbox this past generation. I just now recently have a PlayStation. I can see where people may think that. Maybe people that prefer PlayStation over Xbox, which I didn't for several years.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, it's just like you were saying, it's a different thing. Like, they're not about first party games and like exclusives and all that, which they do have those.
Right.
But they're about building multiplayer experiences and connecting with your friends and having everybody be in one area. You know, it's not about exclusivity and having like certain single player story driven games. They're about people connecting with other people, which I think is, I like PlayStation 2, but I think that's where they fall short.
Yeah.
Personally.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Caleb. Sorry.
No, I don't know. I think it's weird. I know that the PlayStation 4 is definitely outsold the Xbox One. It's not even
For sure.
close.
Yeah.
Like, the PlayStation 4 is one of the most successful consoles ever. And I think, Xbox, because of that, and Microsoft have felt like they need to basically be doing catch up for this entire generation. I think because of that, you've seen them try a bunch of different things and try to do a bunch of different things to try to make up for that and make their console more intriguing. But for whatever reason, like PS4, launched, got their, it was a hit, and they've kind of stuck with it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this next generation, because basically out of competition comes innovation.
Totally.
And I think that, Xbox One, faltered. And because of that, you're getting all this innovation up until, the next console. And it'll be interesting to see, which one does better in this next generation, and then what is innovated from there on. See what
Totally.
happens.
And I think, just to kind of round out the sidebar before we actually get into the news story, at the end of the day, if people are like, oh, console wars are dumb, it's true. At the end of the day, if you think that whatever brand you are a part of and you support, because I'm going to buy both. I have said that multiple times on this show. I will have an Xbox Series X and a PS5, no question. If at the end of the day you think the brand that you're sporting, though, isn't looking at their competition's numbers and saying, holy crap, and looking in conjunction with where they're at and saying, what are our numbers compared to theirs? If you don't think that that's happening, you're mistaken, because at the end of the day, entertainment is based around two things: dollars and cents. And of course, there are people that want to deliver those experiences. I think Phil Spencer seems like a good spokesperson, for head of Xbox, things like that. But at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to, is dollars and cents and where the interest lies. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. And that whole thing probably sounded like I was trying to be hard on Xbox. I love Xbox games. That's why I'm being hard on it. Like, what have they done for me? What I'm thinking to myself, what have they done for me this past generation? Literally almost nothing. And that's fine. I'm looking forward to, we had this, pretty dope showcase. I'm looking forward to see what's Game Pass is obviously going to take off. If xCloud doesn't end up coming to iOS, that's a bummer, but whatever. I'm still going to be there for those games day one. I'm glad Xbox is finally taking the initiative to say, okay, competing, giving people things, what the media sees, giving them things to say, oh, X, Y, and Z, let's talk about this, let's complain about this, and create drama. them trying to almost go kind of a Nintendo route and be like, we're not doing that anymore. Like, this is what we're doing. We're focusing on Game Pass, doubling down. Smartest thing they could ever do, because they don't have to sell Xbox players Xboxes. They have to sell me an Xbox. They have to sell PlayStation players an Xbox. PC will have Xbox games, but that's where the question should be is they have to make it almost impossible for you to not want to buy an Xbox. And that's what they're trying to do. And
they're trying to make you not want to buy an Xbox?
No,
they're trying to make it impossible. They're trying to make it impossible for you to say to yourself, like, they're trying to make you think to yourself, it's impossible for me to not want an Xbox. Like, I gotta have one. That's what they're trying to do.
I do have to say, I mean, kind of ever since I saw the trailer for Horizon, the next Horizon 2, I decided I'm getting a PS5 just because it's probably my favorite game I've ever played. I can't wait for this. So I've decided I'm getting a PS5 no matter what. I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel the same way about PlayStation because of whatever game it is that they love. And I know too that I'm probably not going to buy an Xbox just because I don't feel the need to have two systems that are the same generation. That's just me. And, you know, there's plenty of people like Gabe that are going to have everything. But I don't care either if Xbox comes out and their console is way better than the PS5. That's good for me as a PlayStation buyer, because what that means is that PlayStation is going to be forced to innovate, just like Xbox has had to this past generation, which means I'm going to end up with a good product, maybe a better product by the end of the generation, because they're going to be forced to innovate. And that's how business works.
Totally.
So really, you don't have a loser here.
No, you don't.
No matter what you get, you're going to win, whether it's you're having that amazing, you know, product that you enjoy at launch. That's great. Or maybe, you know, the product that you bought is having to play catch up. But these are such innovative companies that they're going to innovate and you're going to end up with an amazing system no matter what. So I don't really see the need to go out and debate and have a war over whatever, because it's going to end up good for everybody.
Right. And the things that I say, I feel well-founded in my opinion, because guess what? I got both. I paid for both. I have both already. Like, I see both sides, and that's why the interest is there on both sides. It's like Game Pass is it's the best. Someone said that, I think it was Gary Whitta. So this is the best deal in entertainment. Fact of the matter, 100%. You put me on an island, I can only have one thing to do. Game Pass. I don't need Netflix. I don't need none of that. Give me Game Pass. Sure. Like, it is the best deal in entertainment. The fact that you can, you know, and we come back to the price of the box all the time of, okay, well, if it's $500, that's going to be almost impossible for me to say, like, I don't want that. Like, I already know I'm getting it, but I'm just saying, you know, that's whatever. But it's interesting to me how so much hatred can come out of, like, the exclusivity stuff, though, because people are throwing a fit, you know. I don't know. It's frustrating that it is frustrating that we can't all just come together and be like, yeah, good for you, man. Like, that's awesome. But anyways, that's all I had to say about. Go ahead, Mikey. Sorry.
I really agree with Caleb on the innovative aspect of this next gen, because I feel like that's the defining factor in both developers, in Sony and Microsoft, because they're both very innovative depending on what situation they're in, but in different ways. So I've been thinking about this a lot. I feel like PlayStation is innovative in their games. Xbox is innovative in their user experience. If you're gaming, which one do you find more important? Because if your user experience is great, that's awesome. But if you're missing out on some of the best single player experiences that you can have gaming, but you're having to pay a little bit more depending on what console is more expensive, is it worth it to miss out on some of the best games that you can experience just to have a good user interface?
Right. An ease of access.
Yeah. Or would you want to take the hit and just be like, okay, this is a little more difficult to navigate, and yes, it may not be perfect, but I'm getting the best gaming experience. Like, that's what it's all about, is the games, man. Because almost everything besides like 3 or 4 games that you can get on Xbox, you can get on PlayStation.
Totally.
And that's the main draw with this going into this next generation.
Yeah.
It's just it makes sense for me for some people. But if you're an avid gamer and want to have those experiences, for me being an Xbox fan for the past like 10, 15 years, I'm going PlayStation with this next generation. Like there's nothing that draws me to Xbox over PlayStation where I don't think it's worth missing out on all those experiences.
Well, and that's the thing too, is people are like, oh, like all these games Fable and you know, all these new games they showed off. We have no idea when those games are showing up.
Yeah.
And Game Pass, I stand by what I said. Game Pass is a freaking amazing deal. It is an amazing deal. And if you are bordering, you know, if you're casual, bordering hardcore avid gamer, it's not even a question of if you're going to have it, because you'll probably have both consoles if you fall into that category. Yeah. But with Game Pass, you also run into the problem of there is too much there. And it's like, if I'm only going to play 1 or 2 games on Game Pass, it's like, oh, I'm paying $15 a month for Game Pass. This is great. But I paid 2 games. It's $120 brand new to buy 2 games elsewhere. To me, I'm like,
on sale and buy them for $30.
Exactly. It's like, do I want to have Game Pass all year, or do I just want to wait for the sale that will inevitably happen? Those games will not stay $60 or $70.
You absolutely want to play.
The game you absolutely want to play. Exactly. And it's like, there are head and shoulders way more experiences that PlayStation didn't have to prove anything to me, because they have a track record, a good track record of putting out 9 times out of 10 some of the best games out there, period. Xbox don't have that and hasn't had that for a long time. The stuff they're wanting to put out there looks cool, and that's why I'm going to give it a chance and like stick around with it, because I want to be a part of those experiences. And call me crazy, people are like, oh, these Xbox games aren't going to come to PlayStation, blah, 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 blah. Like, you'll never see an exclusive. I mark my words. Xbox Game Studios games in some way, shape, or form will be on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 at some point in time. It goes against what Microsoft's plan has been from the beginning to get everyone to play their games. It will happen at some point.
They already tried to get the collection on PlayStation multiple times.
Yeah.
I think that will solely depend on how the consoles do at launch and which one sells better.
Totally. You're right.
If Microsoft sells a bunch of Xboxes and outsells PlayStations, it won't have any reason to. But if it doesn't, I mean, they're going to make more money selling Xbox exclusives on PlayStations than they would trying to make up for it in sales of their Xboxes. And we talk about Game Pass, and Game Pass is, I think, by far the best thing that Xbox has going for it. And I'm not an industry expert in any ways or have any type of inside ties, but it would be just, I almost feel like irresponsible to not note that PlayStation and Sony has to be having conversations about what can we do to compete with Game Pass?
A Play Pass of some sort.
Is there some sort? Yeah, Play Pass or something that they can do to where they can compete with that, because they have to look at that and say like, hey, this is the one thing that Xbox has that we don't, that they're getting a lot of attention for. And how can we compete with that? And it would be a no-brainer to try to bring something like that to the forefront. I mean, you had Netflix on TV, but then you get Hulu and Amazon and NBC, and you have all these other, streaming services that are all coming now. And it's been a tidal wave. And I don't see why that same wave might not happen with, Game Pass for Xbox, and then who knows what for PlayStation or Nintendo or whatever.
And in that same vein too, Caleb, I'm also thinking, they don't have an answer for that. They have PlayStation Now. You can download PS4 games, $10 a month. There's a bunch of games you can download on PlayStation. You can stream if you have Sterling internet connection. You can even stream PS3 games. It's nowhere near Xbox Game Pass caliber, but people use it. Like people definitely utilize that. But the problem with Sony does not push, PlayStation does not push that out there and be like, oh, hey, stinking PlayStation Now is the greatest thing ever. They don't do that for a couple reasons of they don't have to. And in my mind, if I'm Sony, it's like, I'm not going to worry about, they're talking about it, like what you said, they're talking about if we ever needed to have this thing, or if we're going to develop this thing, how do we do it? B, when's the best time to do it? Because right now, putting out a Play Pass of some sort makes 0 sense, because they don't have to do that. They're top dog right now, but getting to that position to where if they're sitting pretty halfway through the console generation and like winning, or not winning, but if they have the numbers there again, it's like, all right, yeah, why not? Let's do a play pass.
Well, and I'm thinking too, it's like they might keep that in their back pocket if it's something that if their console isn't doing as good.
Totally.
Just try to draw interest.
That's what Xbox did. That's the exact same thing Xbox did.
Yeah, I think that what we're going to see innovation-wise is all going to depend on how these consoles do against each other when they file at launch and how much they're selling. And then from there, we'll see what's going to happen. And each one has so many, cards that they can play. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. But I think the moral of all of this is just there's no need to have a console for these bickering and console wars because it's completely unnecessary.
Unless we want to have a small group of people who have both, then you can have your bickering conversation. But I don't want to hear, Xbox is better than PlayStation and blah, blah, blah because of X, Y, and Z. It doesn't track. Like it doesn't. They're different. They're different products that do they're similar products that specialize in different things. So there you go. But that kind of
the people who defend the console wars, I don't consider them to have a valid opinion because they may think that they're forwarding the process of gaming, but I feel like it's hurting it because like it's not constructive criticism. It's always like PlayStation sucks or Xbox sucks.
Right.
It's not like that. For some people, they've never even played an Xbox.
Yeah, it's true.
Like it's just biased. So like it doesn't help the situation.
Well said.
For people who maybe have an educated like opinion, that is where they need to be paying attention.
Yeah, totally. And like Caleb said,
play the games.
Yeah. Well, and that's what Caleb, going back to what Caleb said, we do not have insider information. We have no ties in the industry. I think there's definitely parts of us that wish we would. I definitely, that's something I've been trying to push more towards. And I've really been kind of like a student of the industry in a lot of ways, but we don't have the inside information and we don't have the experience. So we're just speculating, giving our opinion. We hope, we would like to hear what you think. You can email us definitely. So, but kind of out of that whole exclusivity, console thing comes this next, we're still in the news. Basically Spider-Man's coming to PlayStation exclusively, for Marvel's Avengers game. My thing is who cares? Who cares about Marvel's Avengers game? Really? Besides people Xbox in the industry, really? Oh, because because they
don't have access to it.
Yeah. Right? Because exactly. They're probably throwing a hissy. My thing is like this game looks like crap.
I don't understand why you would want to play a Spider-Man in a game that's not Spider-Man PS4, where that game is basically perfect.
Yeah,
Xbox players.
Yeah,
Xbox players want to play.
It's literally like they did that just to like. Throw it into the face.
For sure they did, dude.
Yeah.
100%.
It's kind of funny.
It is kind of funny.
The selling point.
Yeah, it is. It is because you have like people call Spider-Man the face of Marvel, and I mean, in a way, he is kind of the Batman of the Marvel, of the Marvel universe. Like you think of DC Comics, I think of Batman immediately. Some people think of Superman. I don't know, but I think just as far as like Spider-Man is the guy, so it's almost just like another thing like
the MCU.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So there's that. My thing is, I just wanted to bring it out because there's been so much drama about it. Who freaking cares? I'm not going to play the game unless my game sharing buddy decides he wants to buy it. No interest there. Don't care. Don't even get me started.
Unless it gets like incredible reviews.
Yeah, right. And even then, it's like they're my backlog, dude. There's so much there I would rather play.
I don't have time for a game that I'm barely interested just because it has good reviews.
I don't have time for another Destiny. I don't have time. That's exactly what this game is going to be. It is literally
seriously.
Yes, and it's all gear based. Like you go through missions with your it's not exactly like Destiny. There's a story there and stuff like that, but
evolving world.
It is the gear system. I mean, they're adding new characters and like you're going to be able to go through these missions. It's definitely kind of pushed as like a games as a service type thing. Like there's going to be missions.
Is it kind of like how Injustice was, where they just kept adding like
kind of, but it's timed events. Like it's Destiny in the sense of like there's going to be missions that are only going to be available for a certain time type thing. So
it needs to look a lot better than it does right now.
Yeah,
pull that off.
No thanks. I'm gonna pass. I just wanted to bring up the drama around it, and I thought it was kind of funny too that Sonny was like, "Hey, we got Spider-Man." So there was like a lot of pettiness going on this past week. PlayStation 5, spoiler alert, on a next-gen console, we're going to get a new controller, and our previous gen controller is not going to work on this new console. Surprised?
Good.
No? Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't
Who cares?
Has that ever been a thing?
Who cares? And like that was the stupidest thing ever. People are freaking out like, "Oh, I bought so many DualShock 4s." I have like 8 DualShock 4 controllers. Guess what? They're either gonna find a way to get used, or they're gonna sit in my drawer. I've already kind of made the decision. I'm playing my PS3's on right now, so I'm not gonna have a problem going back to an older console. There's not gonna be a ton of stuff out for me to play on PS5. I know I'm gonna be hopping back and forth between my PS4 and my PS5. Like I already know that that's a thing. Why are we throwing a fit about this? Why is this a problem?
Because
People need to be
Xbox is
mad.
bringing it up.
Yeah,
Because
exactly. Xbox is stirring the pot, literally. And it's like Xbox said, "Oh, your current controller is going to work." So you're saying that you didn't really do any work to upgrade the Xbox One controller. You use the
they
same
literally
controller.
Did nothing, so they don't have a reason to upgrade their software.
You mean hardware?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Just making sure.
Granted, they do have the best controller as of now, in my opinion.
Okay.
I like the Xbox.
I
I-
like
there's
the
a-
DualShocks a lot.
I know.
I like the
But
DualShock
that's
4 the
just
best.
me.
That's okay.
I'm coming from Xbox.
Yeah,
man.
you're
Like,
not alone.
that's
You're not
me.
alone. I love the Xbox One Elite controller. And there's nothing like having an Xbox controller in your hands. That's a fact. But
It just feels
DualShock 4 is literally to me the equivalent of what the Xbox 360 controller was for me. It's
agree
become
with that.
it's like
right.
it's become my favorite controller I've ever played with. Easily.
I can totally see why. The time I've spent with it since I've gotten one the past couple months, or borrowed one because it's not mine really. I see why people love this controller. I always thought that it would feel weird because I have had one in the previous and I would switch back and forth from my Xbox and it does feel different, but it doesn't feel bad. Like when people say, like Xbox users, when they say the DualShock is wrong, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
I'm at the point when gaming, like I can pick up any controller and be like, yeah, I'm gaming right now. Like it doesn't matter what controller you're using. If you're enjoying the game, you forget about what controller you're using. You know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, Mikey. Well said.
How is a controller that has done nothing but improved for 20 plus years wrong?
Yeah.
It's literally the same base that they've used for 20 years.
Mhm.
And people, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, and
it doesn't make any sense.
my thing is too, I don't know. Like to me, the DualSense looks kind of weird, but how many of those gimmicks are really going to be utilized? You know what I mean? Like, and to Xbox's point, the DualSense looks like a Xbox DualShock 4 baby. Like it looks like a combination of both those controllers, and I think. Just because I spent more time with the DualShock 4, I like it more. But had I spent just as much time with the Xbox One controller, they'd probably be tied. They're both amazing controllers, and it only makes sense that you're taking the best of gaming period controllers and making it into like one controller. Yeah, I think I need to get hands on with one, but I'm excited. This is stupid. Quit. Grow up. Grow up. You're not going to be able to use your DualShock 4 on your PS5. Boo frickety who. And you shouldn't be mad about it.
Any PlayStation users that have ever held an Xbox controller and don't say that it's comfortable and are mad at the fact that you're getting an Xbox controller comfort with the same PlayStation setup, you're crazy if you say that's not a good idea.
You're crazy because the one big thing I've heard is like, oh, the DualShock 4 is a little small. I could see that. I got long fingers, but I got tiny hands, so like it fits perfectly for me.
I'm the exact opposite.
But yeah, Mikey, like someone with Mikey, and to me, I just don't understand what the problem is. Again, more drama. So then to kind of add to the pettiness, Xbox answers and says, "Oh yeah, we already talked about that. Oh yeah, you can use any of your old any of your old Xbox One controllers on upcoming consoles. Stupid. Console wars are dumb. They're both good controllers. DualSense is going to be freaking amazing." All right, moving on to the last. The news has gone on way too long. Moving on, we still have a freaking movie review to do. The last thing on this list is kind of dealing with the state of play. What did we think about the state of play. We knew that we weren't getting any big PS5 news. They showed off a ton of gameplay. Was there anything that really stuck out to you guys that you were like, "Oh yeah, this is cool"? What did we see?
For me, the things that stuck out is literally the first and the last thing. It was Crash and Godfall. I think those are the two things that really stuck out to me. Other than that, there wasn't anything too crazy. I did like the idea of them doing. I mean, I don't play Hitman. I wouldn't recommend that game to anybody. But the idea of taking an old game like that, and redoing it and putting it into VR just makes a lot of sense. Like remastering it that way, I think makes a lot of sense. It'd be really cool if they did that with more games, especially series that have been going on for a long time, and to be able to experience them in VR would be really, really cool.
Well said.
For sure. Something that it hurts me because I am kind of a transitioning Xbox into a PlayStation gamer. Godfall was literally memed in the last presentation as being like, everybody thought it was a mobile game. They're like, what is this? The side by side of that and Halo Infinite it makes Infinite look abysmal. Like, it's insane. So it just, for that to be like what everybody was mad about in the last PlayStation event, and then that to be what Xbox was forward with in their presentation, it just goes to show me like why it just reaffirms why I'm switching in what I want to game with. You know, it's just like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
at least for the time being, going into console, because you don't know. X Series X.
That's true. It's all just video. Like, it's not even hands on.
Right. And my thing is too is like, you guys are saying, "Oh, I won't have both consoles." That's what I'm kind of getting at. Xbox is going to make it really hard on you to not want an Xbox just for the sake of Game Pass, or being able to turn Game Pass on or off whenever you want. And I think if Lockhart really is a thing, you know, it's going to have its place for sure. But
That's true. Yeah,
I agree with Mikey. Like, because if there's a Lockhart console and that's the thing, that's what I'm buying. I don't care about the disc tray. I have all my games on a digital hard drive anyways, or, you know, a hard drive anyways. So whatever. But in the same thing as what you're saying, Mikey, my favorite thing was Bug Snacks. Out of that whole presentation, awesome. I'm like, it's first person Viva Pinata is what it looks like. Like, it looks so interesting, and that's the thing that sets it apart. Funny. And funny, yeah, and it's and weird, and it's just like all the good things coming together. Of, okay, we have all this cool stuff, varied in interest, varied in there's a cool platformer like a drawing and all that stuff. Full disclosure, I was actually giving a guitar lesson watching the presentation, so I couldn't actually hear the audio, but I agree with you, with what you said, Kayla, about Crash. Never had an interest in Crash Bandicoot until now.
Me either.
Looks awesome. Yeah. You know, we knew we weren't getting any big PS5 stuff. They announced a couple of small PS5 titles. We knew, I thought it was going to be really hard for them to not show off more Bug Snacks, since there's been such an outcry on the internet for more Bug Snack stuff. And it just looks cool. And I'm with you, Mikey. I'm like, the majority of my gaming is going to be done on the next PlayStation console. Like, there are so many games that look interesting, whereas there's only been, I would rather have too many exclusives to choose from than, you know, look at Xbox's lineup and be like, "Oh, cool, they're doing something now. Awesome." Like, I'm definitely going to go with what I know the most, and I'm still happy for the other side. But that's what I'm kind of talking about, is I think that this presentation gave us exactly what they promised us, which was PS4 and PSVR news, nothing big PS5 wise. So yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah. Can I go for it?
No, I'm sorry. But no, I was just going to say one thing about Godfall. And who knows whether I'll actually get that game or not, but you know, who knows. But I really wish, and I'm glad that they are doing this, because they talked about having an aggressive, fast-paced combat system in a melee game, which is something that when you think of a melee game, I mean, most people think of like Dark Souls, where it's, you know, very parry-based. But this game is encouraging you to be aggressive, and I was just like, God, I hope that for the next Jedi Fallen Order game that they adopt more of that gameplay style than having the Dark Souls like parrying, because I just that's the one thing I have a problem with Jedi Fallen Order. I'm just not good at parrying, and maybe that's because I'm a total noob or whatever. but it's just that aggressive and kind of like you're always moving gameplay style. That would be so cool in a Star Wars game. I saw that. I was like, gosh, do that in the next Jedi Fallen Order game because that would be so stinking cool.
You're not wrong, Caleb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they might, because I mean, he's going to be a fully developed Jedi at that point, so they might just make you super aggressive.
Yeah, that'd be dope. And I kind of checked out on the Godfall stuff. I was like, it looks cool. You know, it is. I wasn't just blown away by it. But I'm not huge into those kinds of games anyways. I still haven't played Fallen Order and I'm a huge mega Star Wars fan, you know? So, but it looks interesting. If it's at a good price, I'll pick it up. But yeah, it would be interesting to see. I think my big thing that I've always seen with, those types of games, like what you're talking about, Caleb, of aggressive gameplay, you feel too much like a bull, and I want to like dance around given the chance. You know what I mean? Like I want there to be more tactical gameplay involved rather than just kind of charging for it. Does that make sense?
But if I'm a Jedi and I'm going up against a bunch of stormtroopers, I want to feel like I'm a Jedi going up against stormtroopers.
Totally.
Like I'm freaking invincible.
Oh, yeah.
I understand
Like
that.
that's how I want to feel. I don't want to feel like I'm at the risk of like, you know, dying from, you know, some random, you know, stormtrooper FN 2187 like getting me from across the map. Like I want to feel like a boss.
Right.
And
Like
I think that
like the Force Unleashed
would be really cool. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. That's
but like an updated version. Well
yeah,
said.
an updated version that's better, I guess.
Granted, though, towards the end of that game, you do get that feeling once you start upgrading all your trees.
Yeah.
Like you definitely feel like, yeah, nobody really has a shot except, well, never mind.
Yeah, no spoilers. I haven't played it.
I mean, again, I might just be like a total noob and just not good at that type of game or whatever, but I want to feel like a Jedi, and I probably just need to get good.
You'll be you hit it right on the. You suck, Caleb. You suck at video. No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. I hear what you're saying, and I wasn't talking about stars. I was talking more in terms of Godfall. That Godfall. It's like, okay, it just doesn't really blow my skirt up too much. You know what I mean? Like it's fine.
No, it didn't for me either. But that gameplay style,
right?
Really cool.
Totally,
Yeah,
and I could
exactly
definitely, I definitely could see that in a Star Wars game, and it would be cool to see that implemented. A better, like. Almost like Krell from Clone Wars. Like imagine being able to play as Krell. Mikey's like, I gotta get out of here.
We're doing it again. Let's talk about.
All right, let's talk about Umbara. Just kidding. Just joking, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, thank you for suffering through that news segment, ladies and gentlemen. The conversation is not over, but what we're gonna do over here at Wannabe Critic Productions is we're gonna take a little break, a little pee break, because Gabe's got to pee, and then we are gonna get into our review of Spider-Man 2 from 2003? 2003? 2002?
2003 or 4.
Yeah, 2003 or 4, whatever.
4, I believe.
Yeah, 4. Okay, good deal. Go. All right, so we're going to take a little break and we will be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. How are we feeling? Can't talk about what happened.
Stupid.
I can't talk about what just happened off mic, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you for suffering through the news. If you decided to do so, if you decide to skip ahead to the review, no worries. We understand. We like to go off on tangents, and if you don't like it, that's fine. You can just skip ahead. It's great. We are here to discuss Sam Raimi's second Spider-Man movie. Did any of you look up any of the information on this? Can you guys vamp while I do that? I'm going to look up the IMDb. I believe it's 2004. Or is that what do we think?
Yeah, I believe it's 2004.
Yeah, I think it's 2004, and yeah, I don't know like any of like the trivia information off the IMDb page, but from what I know, I think this movie is kind of beloved by most comic book fans, and the critics love this movie, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
Okay, you were right. It's 2004. What do we think? What do we think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Mikey, you go first, man.
If it's higher than the last movie, FML. I don't.
What did the last one have? 90, 91, 96?
It was high. I
think it was like 80. Was it?
I'm gonna check.
Like 87 or 89 or something
87.
Like that.
Yeah.
No, it was in the 90s.
It may have been like right at 90.
92. That sounds.
I think that I'm pretty sure this movie's at a 93 on
Oh
Rotten
my
Tomatoes.
god!
I'm pretty sure it is.
This is the original Spider-Man had a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I understand that. What does this have?
A
What is it?
93.
I knew it. How does that make you feel, Mikey?
How does that make you feel? I'm more curious. You know what I'm gonna
No,
say.
dude. No, I can't wait to get into this movie because I like this movie and it holds a special place in my heart just in the nostalgia. But it is so freaking weird. It's the weirdest movie.
Dude.
It has an
It is so
82.
weird.
It has an 82 audience score, a 93 tomato meter, and an 83%. An 83% on Metacritic and a 7.3 on IMDb. So that's all the
What
scores
was the-
thrown out there.
What was the audience score for number one again? Wasn't that really high too?
It was really high. I closed out of it. It was in the 90s, I believe. Let me check. I'll check you one more time.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, man. Oh, it is gonna be a long one. It's
No,
gonna be long.
this is gonna be fun. Again, this movie I think holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. And for when it came out, 2004. Let's think about some of the things that were popular in 2004, like
Nickelback.
Even like fashion wise, or like
Whale Tales.
it's a weird time in human history of what people liked, and I think
Lowrider jeans.
I think that translates to what this movie is and why it was so well received at the time and why it holds a special place in so many's heart, because this is such a product of the time and just how weird it is. It's just so odd.
It is crazy how now it doesn't make any freaking sense. And really, in retrospect, it was like, oh my god, you're an idiot if you don't think Spider-Man 2 is leagues above Spider-Man 1. Now I'm like, Spider-Man 1 is a way better movie.
100%.
I think so. Yeah,
100% has aged so well, and this is just not. And to answer your question, Mikey, the audience score on number 1 was 67%.
That's wild.
What? And it was an 83 or whatever on 2?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're kind of crazy.
Well,
all right.
But here's the thing is, after watching this movie, Spider-Man 3 made so much more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, man, Spider-Man 3 isn't nearly as drastic of the step down as everyone thinks it is.
I was thinking the same thing.
I was like, I think that this is like a really straight progression
for
how these movies go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you can see like where everything that went wrong with Spider-Man 3 got its start in this movie.
Totally.
It's just how odd it is.
I 100% agree. Did you guys know that there was supposed to be a Spider-Man 4 released in 2011?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't even know that. But
really?
Yeah.
Dude,
but
so much setup in these movies
Uh-huh.
for everything.
Yeah.
So much.
Okay, let's do this. Because it could be a long one. So obviously, Caleb's an hour ahead of us. So we want to respect his time as much as possible. Obviously, do we like this movie? The critics love it. The critics in the audience love it. Do we like this movie?
I said it already, but I do like this movie. It holds a special place in my heart. But it is, again, it's so weird. It's so weird. And for me, I have to like look at it as like it's a good kind of weird. But it's so weird. But I do like it, and it has some really good, really memorable moments in it that I think are kind of some moments that are really iconic in like superhero movie lore.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. I think people know the moments that I'm talking about.
Okay. Well said.
I have nostalgia with this movie too, Caleb. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but this movie is awful. It's character acting bad.
Do you not enjoy anything in life?
Dude, character acting bad, editing bad, music bad, Spider-Man scenes bad. Like so much wrong with this movie, dude.
Okay, now wait a minute. The music, what the crap? It's the same music from the first movie.
It doesn't fit though. It doesn't fit with what's going on. Like it's the same pitch and like tempo as the last movie, except it's supposed to be sad. It's literally the same music. They didn't change anything.
I like the music
Like-
still. I like the music still in this movie.
I think the music's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
But okay, let's start digging in. I think this movie was very instrumental, just as much as the first movie, into getting the MCU kicked off.
Absolutely.
But the direction to take Peter, first of all, making this a Peter Parker movie.
Kinda.
Mostly Peter Parker.
Kinda. With very little character development.
Not good.
Other than yeah, it's just him and his life sucks. Just
Yeah,
everything
literally.
about him and
That's
his life
literally
sucks.
it.
And and Tobey Maguire is so cringy in so many ways. And there's
Awful.
Awful.
okay, and
It's great, though.
I have a crispy hot take for you guys. I have a crispy hot take. I'm watching this movie and I'm like, why is this movie a comedy, an attempted comedy, before an action movie? And then it clicked in my mind. I was like, holy crap, Taika Waititi loves this movie.
Yes. This movie is like so painfully and awkwardly kind of like trying to be funny. And it goes through so many different genres. And yeah, if you told me that this movie was directed by Taika Waititi, it would not surprise me at all.
I would have believed you.
It goes from like, yeah, action movie to like serious to like kind of like just cringe comedy to like horror movie.
Yeah,
And then like all back through it all again.
totally.
And it's so weird.
It is.
I've never seen a movie that goes through that many genres. Because even like, I think of like Thor Ragnarok, which I love, or even like Hunt for the Wilder People's a really good one. Jojo Rabbit, those are all Taika Waititi movies. And I love him. He's become one of my favorite directors for his style of movie and how he kind of balances different things. He's really an expert at balancing them. But this movie just doesn't completely balance it all right, and just has so much going on all at once that keeps it from being that same, like in that same echelon as those other movies.
And kind of in the same respect with Sam Raimi, you're talking about the guy that did the Evil Dead movies back in the day. Which the Evil Dead movies are like satirical, kind of twisted, funny horror movies, right? And I haven't watched any of them, but they are infamous. Seeing him be like, okay, now how can we make it? You ever watch Sam Raimi in an interview?
No, I haven't.
You need to go watch him in an interview because you're like, why did Sam Raimi cast himself as Spider-Man? He looks and talks like Tobey Maguire. You need to go. It's like dude. It is like a Woody Allen situation. It is weird. I'm like, why does this guy feel familiar? Oh my God, he directed Tobey Maguire, and like Tobey Maguire totally picked up a lot of those mannerisms, I think, like, and kind of played off of that direction. And the direction is very heavily there. But yeah, like just the whole balance between it trying to be a comedy and then an action movie. And there's not very many action scenes in this movie. There's like 4. And they're not even that good. The only good action sequence, in my opinion, and I'm sorry, Doc Ock is horrible. Horrible development, stupid. Like, I do not buy him. I'm sorry. In my opinion, he is horrible.
I kind of differ there. I like him, and he looks so stinking good. Those arms look so good for the time.
That is true.
It's because they're practical effects.
And
they used real arms a lot in that.
Yeah, it looks so good. He's really menacing when he's not just completely CGI and like crawling up a building. It kind of loses its. But like that stinking like hospital scene where the surgeons are that's terrifying.
Yeah,
like,
scary.
Literally, like I'm in a completely different movie because it is terrifying. And I know, like as a kid watching that, I was just like, no. It's horrible. But I think that he's a decent character, a little all over the place. Definitely not as good as Green Goblin, but he's decent.
Okay.
But I don't know. I can see where someone would totally not like him.
Yeah. I want to hear what Mikey has to say, and then I'll riff off of what you just said.
This is one of the worst scenes in this movie, Caleb.
What, the surgeon scene?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just crazy.
It's awful. Okay. The editing in this movie, to me, is what makes it even worse. It could be decent.
I do have to kind of agree with you there. I think that's the
So-
thing that makes the surgeon scene so weird is the editing.
Yeah, I mean, so like, it's not scary. In my opinion, I watched that whole thing. I'm like, it did. Knowing the fact that Sam Raimi did these and did Evil Dead, it's almost like he's trying to make that comedic. Like, it's just not scary at all. There's nothing in that scene. It's just like, ah! Like classic horror scenes that just
It is-
like, it's almost cringy, like how it's shot. And then like he comes off the table and he's wearing a full gown and he comes out of the building and it's like half off. Why? Why do you have to take the torso of his gown off and
To
just
show
hang in there?
well, just to show like the
But
tor.
why?
Yeah,
But like, why wouldn't you know what I mean? Like, it's just a tiny thing like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
it doesn't show anything else except the fact that we know it's attached to his body at that point because they showed X-rays in the back and all that. I don't need to see his fat belly pouring over this belt that looks like it's burnt onto him.
That
I'm
was
like,
one thing. I'm
yeah,
like,
that's
this guy,
cool.
like,
And the makeup on Doc Ock when it's really him is awful. Like when he's doing those close-ups and like talking to himself, like it shows his lines. Like you can tell it's makeup under his eyes. It doesn't look like he has like baggy eyes. And then when he's talking to himself, how hard would it have been to get like some cool voiceover for like somebody in his head?
yeah, the tentacles.
He's not good on his own. He should have had like some sort of voice in his head. Like I don't even know, like anybody, any voice, any menacing voice to put over that would have made that scene 100 times better.
Almost kind of like a Venom thing where
Yeah,
it could have been like,
exactly.
or Tom Hardy voiced Venom, but they just ran it through and did it all digitally and
Yeah.
changed his voice. But
That's-
yeah,
Or
they could've
like
done the same
what
thing.
the Green
That would be
Goblin
great.
was, like the
Yeah, dude.
voice inside Goblin's head. Like,
Like
But I mean, that's just hit the who is it, Dennis Leary, right?
Willem Dafoe.
William, wow, did I say Dennis Leary? God.
this is your
Way
last
off.
episode.
Yeah.
Pack your things. Get out.
Can you edit that out?
Nope,
I don't-
I'm leaving it. I am leaving it.
That's discrediting me for everything
Leaving
I've
it.
said up to this point. But no, yeah, William Dafoe, I think is just such a good actor, and that performance is just so above and beyond anything else that's in these movies.
Yeah.
And I just think that expecting that out of any other actor in these movies is just kind of, it's just not gonna happen.
Okay, and that goes back.
Well-
This comes full circle, like back to what you were gonna say, or what I was gonna say first, Caleb. You hit the nail on the head with, or you said something. How do we go from Green Goblin, who was freaking amazing, and it's like obviously we got to take it to the next level because the first Spider-Man movie is safe. Like it is across the board safe. I think it's going to age much better than any of the rest of these movies. Even probably the X-Men movies and stuff. It's safe across the board.
It's still gonna get dinged for sure for being part of this trilogy, but
Yeah.
out of all of them.
But out of all of them, the safest one.
Yeah.
You're trying to make everything bigger and better, and like the CGI, I was impressed. Like, and I watched the extended cut this time since I've seen the regular one so many times. Spider-Man 2.1, which adds like an extra 10 minutes of footage. How do we go from? Well, I was going to talk about that in a minute as far as it being a comedy. How do we go from the Green Goblin, who was so good, and think that this is going to pass? Doc Ock wise, like it felt like they tried to take everything up to the next level, but they just kind of shirked the villain. But that's just my opinion because it just. Go ahead, Caleb.
I don't know, because I think that in their minds they would say that they did, like that they did it successfully, and
Yeah.
I think that most fans would probably agree with them because this movie is so highly regarded by most superhero movie fans and by the critics at the time, but even people looking back on it now. This movie is still, I think, very highly regarded and holds a special piece in people's hearts. And we're trashy on it, and even though I've said that I like it and like it's a good movie in a weird and wacky way, it's just I think that if people really took the nostalgia goggles off to a certain extent, you'd see past a lot of that. And I think we're kind of doing that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of flaws there.
Yeah. And
A
that's
big part of the nostalgia for this movie, I think, is because some people don't think about this, but avid gamers played the crap out of Spider-Man 2 when it
Totally.
came
Yeah,
out.
that's a good point. That game is classic.
It was like Grand Theft Auto. It was like Grand Theft Auto, but like everyone could play it, and it was
yeah. And I'm
That-
sure many people associate that game in their head with the movie, and probably think some of the parts of that game are in this movie, and they're not. Like, you don't get those epic battles and things like that in that game that you got. Like, it's.
Now, there was a scene. My favorite action sequence in this movie is the train scene. Like, to me,
by far, yeah.
When
like-
Tobey Maguire poops himself.
yeah, I mean that
Yeah.
part's kind of cringy, but like in the extended cut, there's a portion where you're fighting Doc, or he's fighting Doc Ock, and then Doc Ock like just straight up holds him out, and like Spider-Man just gets hit by a train, like straight up,
Really?
like an oncoming train, just like boom, and like Doc Ock's like, oh crap, like you can kind of tell he's like, did I kill him? And then Spider-Man jumps out the back of it and like starts swinging back to it, and I was like, oh, why did that not make it into the movie? Like that was cool.
Ratings.
Yeah,
They probably said it was too much.
I mean, maybe. I mean, there wasn't any blood or anything, but it was just like it was something like what you might see in an MCU movie today. Is kind of what it felt like to me. I was like, that was good. But there was another thing. I feel like they doubled down and it didn't land on the comedy side of things. Kind of getting back to that. It doesn't.
Man.
I don't think it. Maybe for the time period, it worked. Kind of like what Caleb was saying. It comes out of like a strange time period. But now it's kind of like. What? Like, what now?
And that's the thing. I think I like it so much. I like the comedy, but I like it just for how dumb it is. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
That it's. I mean, it kind of doesn't fit a superhero movie, but it's just so stupid that I laugh at it.
Yeah.
Like everything with the pizza guy in the beginning, like it's so dumb and stupid. The pizza shop in New York City. There's a few problems there that I just find hilarious. One, the idea that you'd have a 29-minute guarantee and still be in business after like a day in New York City is just comical because nobody's getting their pizza in 29 minutes. Like it's just impossible. The other thing is nobody in New York City is ordering deep dish pizzas ever. Like that's a crime against humanity for any New Yorker.
Yeah, isn't that Chicago?
Yeah.
That's a Chicago thing. They completely botched that. And yeah, it's just like so insane. He gives Peter Parker 7 minutes to go like 40 blocks on a moped in New York City. And it was like, if you don't do this, you're fired. Like, just fire him then.
Yeah, no
Because there's
kidding.
not a chance that's ever happening unless he can teleport there.
Right.
Whether he's Spider-Man or the Flash or whoever, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So it's just that whole part is just so dumb and funny. I mean, I kind of enjoy it, but just because of how dumb and ridiculous it
And to a
is.
point, I'm sitting there watching this movie and I'm like, what is this? How does this even exist? And how did we, the biggest question I could ask myself coming out of the movie is, how did we go from the first movie to this movie? I don't understand the evolution, but then I definitely understand how we can go from the second movie to the third movie. And it's just like, I agree with you, Caleb. Like it is kind of, it is funny. I did laugh, but I wanted more of what was like in the first movie. I wanted it to play it safe, and it's frustrating that it didn't, because literally in a nutshell, this is Peter Parker's movie. Peter Parker's life sucks. He almost loses his powers. Like, what really matters to Peter Parker? Is he going to choose to be Peter Parker, or is he going to choose to be Spider-Man? And in the end, he can be both, and he gets the girl. Sha-la-la-la-la, right? I mean, is that pretty much it in a nutshell?
No, that's exactly it. Like, that's as much substance as there.
That's yeah, and of course, there's more moving parts. I wanted to talk about Harry for a minute.
Oh,
I hate James Franco in this movie.
yep.
I hate him.
It's not great.
He is so bad. He is worse than. I liked him more in the first movie. I thought he was good. I thought it passed in the first movie. I thought it was fine.
Well, he's at least somewhat relatable in the first movie.
Yeah.
This movie, he's just a jerk.
All right,
He's so hateable.
we'll see you in Sweden. Like he's just so. It's like a caricature of, what? It just doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit.
Dude. That's what I'm telling you. Like, editing and timing in this movie is what makes it so bad. It's like, even like that birthday party scene, like he's just talking to Peter, and then all of a sudden he's just menace. Like,
Yeah.
just menacing face. Like, or the kind of off topic from Harry, the moment you can tell that the editing is off in this movie, the mop scene when there's like 50 mops coming out of him. It's funny. It's funny for like 2 seconds. And then it goes on for like 15 seconds too long. And you're like, deliver the pizzas. Like it's just like timing and like momentum. They drop the ball so much in this movie.
I gotta agree with you. And it's worse with the director's cut, honestly. Because that scene, that birthday party scene, dude, he goes from like literally like, oh, Spider-Man, I hate him. Yeah, it really pisses me off that you have loyalty to him and not your best friend. It's pretty much the exact same thing as what we get in the proposal scene later, just earlier in the movie. And Peter Parker or Tobey Maguire's like, well, I'm sorry, like, like, why is freaking Peter Parker such a pansy in this movie? He was cool in the first movie, like it worked. In this one, I'm like, who are you? Like, this is not the same thing as before. And God, it
is odd. Like, he definitely goes through a complete character shift. Even like at the end of the first movie ends so well with him basically telling Mary Jane, I can't right now because, I don't want you to get hurt. Like, I don't want my enemies to know about you, so I can't be with you. But then this whole movie is basically surrounding the idea that he wants her back and he's wanting to juggle that. And after like that firm decision after the first movie to then go into this movie where it's just him struggling with that, and that's literally the whole movie, is kind of like frustrating. It makes that last scene of the first movie kind of less impactful.
Totally.
Now it's just like, gosh, he's just struggling with that and doesn't mean anything because he ends up with her anyways. He doesn't end up having to actually sacrifice anything.
Right.
So it's kind of frustrating.
I was trying to look for the deeper meaning whenever he loses his powers. He's like losing his powers and going through the shift. And it kind of comes down to he needs Mary Jane. The farther he pushes himself away from Mary Jane, like he's not gonna, it's like he's lost purpose. He's lost his way, and he thinks that it means, oh, I can't be Spider-Man, but really, like, but to me, it just doesn't feel right. Like, I didn't think that. What did you guys get out of that deeper meaning? Because it seemed like it was kind of convoluted, and I couldn't come to a steady resolution as to what it was even trying to say.
Yeah, it's rough. It's so all over the place and inconsistent. I think that's the thing that's tough about it. It's just very inconsistent.
I think that is the best word to put this movie is, what are you trying to be? Because if it was an action movie, fail. If it was a comedy movie in the time period, okay, sure. Not now, and I tried to kind of switch lenses a little bit between, okay, how did I feel? And this is kind of what my main point I'm going to try and make is, this movie was great for kids, and it sold one of the best video games of the generation, period, like across the board, because you went into the movie theater and it was like, holy crap, it's almost like they kind of went hand in hand, like the same type of personality and attitude. Like I can remember exactly what I was doing the day I went to go see this movie, and we went and got that game the day this movie came out. I was with Mikey, actually, and we were at my Uncle Daryl and Aunt Julie's, and my uncle brings us all in this room, and he's like, all right, guys, I left a lot of money on the windowsill, and that was our money to go watch the movie. Like, did anyone take it? And like, we're all silent, and then he looks at his daughter, he's like, all right, Chloe, go get the money. Like, he just knew where, like, she had taken it. So then he takes us all to the movie theater. We get back. My aunt brings in this bug, and she's like, all right, whoever puts this in their mouth for, whoever can look at this giant June bug or whatever. Like, if you put it in your mouth, I'll go buy you a game. And then sure enough, that night, one of our cousins did it. He comes back. He had a GameCube at the time, and it was like those memories. It was a great memory moment. I'll never forget that. And it's just kind of weird that Spider-Man 2 was the catalyst to make me have that memory. And I think for kids, there's so many funny things like in there for little kids and adolescents, like just little things like whenever Peter goes to change into a Spider-Man suit and he has the pizzas, and that dude standing there is like, hey, oh, that guy, he stole that guy's pizzas. I laughed so hard at that. Like, me and Emma both were laughing because it was funny. And there were things that made me laugh as a little kid, for sure. But I was reading a review from back in the day on the internet, and someone was like, yeah, I'm the only one in the office. I think it was an IGN employee. He's like, I'm one of the only people in the office that thinks that this movie didn't live up to the first one's expectations. He's like, everyone else thinks that it's totally takes over, like, in every way. And I read that before I watched the movie, and I was like, whatever, this guy's full of crap. And then I watched it, and I was like, he would have been well-founded in his opinion. Like, because it's two different styles of movies, and that's what the problem is for me. I don't think now if you went back to watch the first movie and you go to watch the second movie now, you're going to be let down if you're expecting a continuation of what you got in the first movie. It's not there.
Yeah, totally agree.
Do you guys remember? I mean, do you remember what you were doing like the first time you saw this?
You know, that's kind of the funny thing is I don't remember the first time I saw this. I remember clear as day seeing the first one, you know, whatever 2 or 3 years prior, but I do not remember going and seeing this movie at all.
That's funny.
For whatever rude reason. Yeah.
I remember what I was doing. I was at my Uncle Daryl's, and
I think, to kind of, is there anything else like specifically that you guys wanted to mention that we could riff off of for a little bit? Because I've pretty much said what I wanted to say and tried to kind of, guide it. But if there's specific things that you can think of, I definitely want to bring that out for sure.
If you're going to build a machine to harness the power of the sun, don't you think you would want to have some way to ground your system or something? Maybe not build it on a floating, sinking house made of pure steel in the middle of the bay, sitting on the dock of the bay.
You see, I think that makes more sense than the first one, though, because at least then you can sink it and destroy it. The first one where he couldn't, there was no backup. He just is so confident it was going to work that he didn't have any backup for it. It ends up hurting a bunch of people.
I mean, it didn't hurt any. It hurt one person.
His wife.
It killed his wife.
It hurt one person. It hurt her and him. But then it killed him the second time and Mary Jane. So literally, death toll 2.
Okay. My thing is
I don't understand why everybody was so afraid of it if it literally only killed 2 people.
Well, it would have killed more.
Yeah, it would have. I mean, it would have basically turned into a nuclear bomb.
Pretty much.
New York. Yeah.
Then we would have been having a much more different movie. Cows are walking around with 2 heads. You know what I mean?
I want to see that sequel.
I would not live where I live right now if Spider-Man didn't save the day.
Now, hear me out.
This is fake.
Yeah. Hear me out. Hear me out. How cool would it have been, really quick? Let's say Doc Ock's plan, it's like, okay, no matter what, this thing blows. Like, it blows up and kills Doc Ock, but he can, contain it a little bit more, and, but there's still going to be a little bit of fallout. You start the third movie there, and then for whatever reason, that seismic activity actually draws the attention of the symbiote, rather than the symbiote just crashing, because then the symbiote would have a reason to actually be on Earth. Just a thought.
That makes sense.
Just a thought. That would have been cool, but it didn't happen that way, so that's fine.
What if we just spent the third movie just talking about Harry and his torment and not adding Venom?
Whatever happened to the Hobgoblin? What?
Yeah, no kidding. And
well, I guess we'll get into that the next time we do a review. But geez.
Yeah, no kidding. Is there anything else, Mikey? Caleb, did you have something you wanted to say?
I'll just note, I kind of mentioned, there's some iconic parts of this movie that especially stick with me. I think are really, really good. One, I love it when there's that car chase in the beginning, and the cop car crashes and it's going to fall on all those people, and then it's caught. Yeah. And that image of that cop car just hanging there by the spider webs is so cool.
That is cool.
Super, super cool.
I like it too.
The other couple things, of course, the train scene, we kind of mentioned that. That's super iconic. The scene where him and Mary Jane are in the coffee shop and he gets his spider sense back and the car's flipping through the shop. That's pretty dang cool too.
That felt like Spider-Man 1 to me.
Yeah, that's a really cool moment.
Yeah.
It's a cool moment when they put it in the Spider-Verse movie.
Exactly. Like those are the moments
Yeah.
that made it into Spider-Verse. The other one that like I just cannot like think is the whole montage of raindrops are falling on my
Oh
head.
my god.
It's so stupid but funny.
Why?
And there's the moment too where like
Precursor.
where he buys a hot dog and the cop cars like go by and he just like watches and he just like shoves the hot dog in his mouth. Just like doesn't care at all. It's
Yeah.
so stinking ridiculous and hilarious.
It is funny. And it's like they do the same thing again in a way in the third movie.
Yeah.
It's like
Exactly. Except parallel opposite.
yeah, exactly. It's yeah. But no, that was a funny sequence. It is kind of interesting whenever he goes to save the little girl, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, some poor soul got trapped up on the top floor, blah blah blah, didn't make it out." I was like, man, you try to do the right thing and you still fail.
That's you see that was a cool sequence I thought for him and for his like kind of character development.
I agree.
Going in there, not as Spider-Man and saving that girl. The only part that kind of ruins that sequence is when the little girl lifts him up from like hanging, like
Yeah.
a 4-year-old child like grabs him and pulls him up.
Emma was like, "What the heck?"
Emily, dude, Emily said the same thing, dude. It's insane, but I like that. And then the where you're like, yeah, some poor soul got trapped. I thought that was a cool sequence.
Yeah,
really kind of stood out.
What, Mikey? Mikey saying, thinking of something. He wants to say
Never
it. I can
mind.
tell.
Never mind.
Okay,
Oh,
all right,
God.
gotcha. This movie has its place for the time period it was released in. I can't say that I particularly. It's too long, first of all. Can't particularly say that I enjoyed watching it. And it was sad that I had to take off the nostalgia goggles to watch it, because I did that with the first one. I still loved it. But I did with this one. I just found myself thinking like, how the turntables,
Yeah. And
so
it does drag on. I think that's the thing about this movie that really puts itself in a different category than the first. Is the first movie, every single scene has a purpose.
Yeah.
And is memorable and is essential to the plot of that movie. And even though it's at least a 2-hour movie, that movie goes by really quickly.
Totally.
And it's every scene has a perfect place, like a perfect puzzle fit together. This movie does not do that at all.
Yeah.
This movie drags on because there's a lot of fluff in there.
Totally. Well, and the first movie too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Like,
no, you're good.
The first movie, we have periods of time, and that's what makes it move past. Is like he's in high school, now he's out of high school, now he's kind of doing his thing. He's like in one period of time, like this whole time in the movie, and it's like, okay, get on with it. Like move the plot along, and do that same thing that you did in the first movie. Like I liked seeing different versions of that. I almost feel like, I don't know. I think it would have been cool for the first half of the movie. He's struggling to get Mary Jane. Then like the revelation is there. Then that could have like made the whole thing with Ock at the very end. Maybe, he's like, I don't know if I can be with you, blah, blah, blah. We'd have to change some stuff around, but I don't know. I feel like having more, Mary Jane is just kind of there in this movie. Like she's just kind of there until the very end, and it doesn't really feel like, I don't know. It's all over the place, like this review.
Again, it's inconsistent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, Mikey's biggest gripe this entire thing, editing. But is there anything else we want to say before we score this bad boy?
Let's score it up.
Okay, let's score it up and get this over with. Caleb thought we were going to have like a really great conversation. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, yeah, it's so stupid. And that's exactly what happened, but it wasn't, oh my God, it's so stupid. It was, God, this movie sucks. And here we go. All right, let's, Mikey, I'm going to throw it to you. What's your score?
What did I give the last one? Oh yeah, 10 out of 10.
So this one's like a 9 then, right?
No. This is probably okay. I'm just, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give it a 10 to start with. I'm gonna pull an old Age of Geek and see how this goes, and I'm gonna dock it for all the big things that I don't like. And I'm only gonna do a half point for each one. All right. So, base being built on water when you're doing like a nuclear thing, minus half a point. 9.5. Doc Ock looks awful and talks to himself and has no awful actor for the part, in my opinion. 9. Spider-Man, no character development in this movie, in my opinion, because it's just I lose my powers, I get my powers. Done. And then Mary Jane and Harry, what was going on there? I didn't understand anything that they were trying to do due to editing, probably. And then so many other things. I'm just going to leave it there. How about that? So what is that? 7? 8?
That's 4 things, so you'd be at an 8 right now.
I'll give it an 8. Sure. Let's give it an 8.
Holy crap, that's high, dude. That's high for as much as you hate this movie.
You know what? I don't want to go through and dock so many points for just nitpicky things, because at the same time it does have that nostalgia factor for me, you know. But at the same time, I would totally sit down and watch this again just to watch it and be like, "Oh my god." It's like it's so bad. It's kind of fun to watch, you know, because you do notice it's kind of like Fast and Furious, dude.
Yeah,
like it's.
I completely agree.
There's a reason why this movie is so revered to fans. Like it's totally rewatchable. Just even if you hate it, like it's Spider-Man. It's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Like that's pretty much all I can say on that. Like,
okay,
yeah.
So 8 out of 10 from you.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Good Lord. All right, here we go. All right.
Pretty high, I know.
Caleb.
No, it's just I think it's so funny that we come into this and
just say 6.5.
No, Mikey's like, it's terrible, and I'm like, oh, I think this is a great movie, but it's like cringy because I'm giving this a 7.5. Like I decided this a while back.
Oh,
and I'm like, how am I giving this a score lower than Mikey, even though Mikey hates this movie? It's so funny.
Well,
but no, I agree, like with literally everything that you've said, and I think it's totally a fair score. It's just, I don't know. This movie has some really good iconic moments, but it's also hilariously like just inconsistent and ridiculous and weird.
Yeah.
Well said.
I agree with that. The thing, like the why I rate it so high is because I really didn't say the things that I like about this movie. My favorite scene is when he's being carried across the train by all those people.
Yeah.
That's
so good.
I've never thought I'd say this about like Tobey Maguire movies, but that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like that is Spider-Man and the people of City of New York in that universe. That's amazing.
With the music coming in at the same time.
Yeah,
and like
that's just like how many other Marvel movies like back then did you have moments like that and where you're like, oh my, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like very few. So that's partially why it gets there's several moments like that in this movie that makes it a decent movie, even with all those bad things in my opinion.
That's well said.
I think that's totally fair.
I think that is too. And I'm going to echo those same sentiments from both of you. And the awesome movements, it's kind of like, I can't believe I'm saying this. It reminds me of the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. The cool things are really, really cool.
Yep.
The cringy and bad things are definitely that. It's not even just a little bit cringy or a little bit bad. It's just across the board cringy and bad. But I agree with Mikey. There are moments. I wanted there to be more moments like what there were in the first movie. And we get little parts of that in this movie of greatness, like the train scene, the whole train sequence. I personally think it's a big moment whenever MJ gets engaged and he's swinging away and like he goes to shoot out his web and it's empty. And he's like, as a kid, I'm like, what the crap is going on? And as somebody watching it, I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks now. Whenever he admits to Aunt May what happened. Actually, that's a big moment. That's big. Yeah. There's moments, but it's just so short-lived throughout this movie, and the things that just don't matter totally cloud out those cool moments. So I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. I think it's good. I think it's just that. I think especially, and I'm not. I was thinking about taking away points comparing it to the first movie, but I'm not gonna do that because that seems unfair. Because the first movie deserves everything it gets. I think that this one very much lives in 2004, and that's fine. That is totally fine. Lots of new advancements of technology, lots of new ideas. It would have been hard to not play it safe and to say, let's push the envelope a little bit and see where we can go with it. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. So
respectable. Yeah. One thing we didn't mention, and I very much noticed it. There's a lot of Aunt May in this movie, like quite a bit. Way more than in the first one, and then I think we're gonna get even more in the third one. It's kind of weird that they are progressing in that way of giving her more and more and more screen time, and like trying for her to kind of almost be like this. I mean, not only an emotional crutch for Peter, but also kind of like a motivator for him in a way. It's odd because you don't get that with any of like the newer Spider-Man movies, I don't think, in the same way. It's a very interesting way that they're doing that with her. It's weird.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're good.
I was gonna say, it reminds me of what they did in the comics. Like the comics had a large Aunt May presence, and like that's one thing with Spider-Man is the people in Spider-Man's life really, really matter to him. And that's been a big theme, even in the Andrew Garfield movies, like even though they don't get a ton of screen time, the people in Peter Parker's life really matter to him. And I think that they did a really good job with Aunt May being kind of one of those big driving forces. It's frustrating that they didn't do that as much with Harry and Mary Jane. Like they kind of put it all on Aunt May. But they do nail. Aunt May is iconic. Like the actress that plays Aunt May is iconic in this movie. And when I think of Aunt May, I don't think of like some... I was going to say something, but I can't. I was going to think of some hot mom type.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
I don't think of Aunt May that way. I think of her as like what we see in these earlier movies. So yeah, I definitely thank you for bringing that out, Caleb, because you're 100% right. So
yeah, you know what? Something I appreciate this movie that bringing out is how back in 2004 that bank's currency was just gold coins.
Oh my god, how did I not mention that? Holy
I totally
crap.
forgot about that.
And that they have their bank safe out in the middle of the bank.
All right,
for everyone to see. And all the CGI.
7.5. I'm with you, Caleb.
Oh god, I forgot about that.
7.5.
Yeah. What century are they in?
Yeah.
Where it's just gold coins.
Well done. Yeah, thank you, Mikey. That's very good. Yeah.
So unnecessary.
Keep the change.
Pirate treasure.
Oh my god.
A different universe.
Yeah. It's a weird time, man. 2004 was a weird time. Like all right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to wrap it up for us here over at the Wannabe Critic podcast. Unless my co-hosts have anything else to say, we are going to call it an evening. It's always interesting whenever we step into our respective places and turn the microphones on. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what kind of conversations are going to happen. You never know. I walk in and I'm like, I've quit having expectations of wondering like what people are going to say, because I'm like, wow, that really didn't go the way I thought it was going to. And that always makes for an interesting conversation. So I just let it go where it goes. Mikey and Caleb, thank you guys for taking the time to do it. It's been a lot of fun. That about wraps up for us here. As usual, you can find us all on all social media platforms at the Wannabe Critic Productions as well, to kind of keep up with our projects. You can email us at geeklybiweekly1@gmail.com. gmail.com. You can go to wannabecritic.com, as I mentioned before, all that jazz. Where can they find you, gentlemen?
So I'm at Chief in NY18, so on Twitter. So you can hit me up there if you want.
There you go.
On Twitter also at wannabe Mikey C.
Very good. Well, that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for supporting these newer formats of shows. It means a lot. If you have any suggestions, questions, concerns, any things you'd like to hear us talk about, you know where to get a hold of us. So thank you again, and thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. We will see you next time. Say goodbye, gentlemen.
Bye.
Coke is better than Pepsi. Bye.